Well, hello everyone. I'm Tyler Chrestman, and welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Today on the podcast, we are going to talk about something that is a little outside of what we normally do. Normally, we're doing some day-to-day politics, philosophy, these kind of things. Today, we're going to talk about kind of an old book that I recently picked up a new copy of at Goodwill. And it'd been a long time since I had done any looking into this book, and I read it this past week, or maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, and thought it would be a good idea to do a podcast about it, because I think a lot of people mistake what this book is about. And obviously the book we're going to talk about, if you didn't get that from the title of the podcast today, where we're talking about Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. That's my very nice Goodwill copy. Cost me a whole $1 right there. Very nice book. And we're going to talk about this because a lot of people get the point of the book wrong. And I think it's important because the book, I misremembered a lot of it. And it is basically spot on to what I think is one of the biggest problems in the world right now that Ray Bradbury saw when the book was published in 1953. So for those of you who have never read it, there might be some spoilers ahead. We're going to do a little bit of a synopsis here, and then we're going to talk about why this book is important, or why I want to talk about it on the podcast today. Basically, the book is set in the future, this dystopian future, and it's based around this guy named Guy Montag, and he is a fireman. But in the future, firemen don't fight fires. They do not put out fires. Firemen actually start fires. Their entire job is they run around and burn books, because in the future all books have been outlawed, and they basically run around, and when someone gets reported for having books, they go and then burn all the books down or up. And the story centers around this firefighter who is having a crisis of conscience. Something doesn't feel right in his life. He meets a new neighbor of his, this sort of high school-aged girl, who asks him questions that people in the future just don't discuss, such as, are you happy? How do you feel? And he begins to realize that he's not happy. Even though he has everything in life that he is told that he should want, he's not happy. And he begins to question things. And apparently he had been doing this prior to meeting the neighbor, but on a much slower scale. The firefighter, the main firefighter, Guy Montag, he had been stealing books from fires and hiding them in his house. So in the book, he's married to a woman named Millie, and Millie is supposed to represent basically all of society. And Millie basically walks around the entire day with headphones in her ears that constantly play noises, and watches TV shows. But the television shows that she watches are not really shows. The plots are 10 to 15 seconds long. There's no real story that's being told. It's just constant stimulation. It's constant connectivity to nothingness. And she's basically supposed to represent the average person in the future, this sort of hollowed out person. At the beginning of the book, Millie overdoses and has to be saved by some paramedics, and then says, it's not a big deal. People in the future, they drive 100 miles an hour down the road. They live very dangerously. They take a bunch of sleeping pills all the time. They do these things, but yet they say they're happy. And that's supposed to be Millie. Millie is supposed to believe she's happy, but she's not happy, but she doesn't know why. And people mistake the point of this book. They get caught up in the long monologues that Guy Montag has with his captain, who begins to suspect that he's stealing books, and it's this giant thing. We're not going to spoil the entire story, but basically people get caught up in the fact that the firemen burn books, and they think that the point of the book is about how that's wrong. And that is true. That is part of what the book is about. The book is about why it is detrimental to civilizations to burn books, to get rid of knowledge, and to restrict people from what they can see, think, and learn. But it really is not the primary driver or why Ray Bradbury wrote this book. Ray Bradbury wrote this book as a critique of mass media and culture. Now, this book came out in 1953, and he couldn't have predicted some of the things that have happened. But it basically looks to me as though his predictions are beginning to come true, or have been coming true for a long time. In the books, the government doesn't come out and ban books. People stop reading books. They stop reading them voluntarily. What happens is that people crave quick, easy lives. And they want their life to be easy. They want their life to be nice. So what you see is this constant need for stimulation and this constant need for excitement leads to things beginning to be dumbed down. So movies get shorter, theaters get shorter, music gets smaller scale, the songs, everything is shorter. It's quick. It's beginning and end. So books begin to become smaller and smaller and smaller. And then people they don't like books because books challenge their way of thinking. And when your way of thinking gets challenged, that's uncomfortable. It's not nice. And people don't like to feel not nice. So they stop reading the books. They focus on the television shows that are now 15 seconds in duration or a minute long and have no plot, but they're fun. It's entertaining. It's like putting a moving screen in front of a toddler. They don't understand what's going on, but they like the colors. They like the sounds. They like the stimulation. They get the quick dopamine response to their brain. Well, that's what human beings become in the future. Their attention spans are gone. They are non-existent. They don't have the ability to communicate. And so that's the point when the government comes in and bans the books and say, okay, well, books are bad. And why are books bad? Books are bad. Well, people don't want to read books anyway. And people elected to not read books on their own. And the government comes in and said, well, books are bad because all these people are happy. They're happy and healthy without books. And we're actually just going to protect them from themselves. We're going to protect them by taking the books away, but they already gave the books up. So really, they've already made the choice, and we're just going to help them with that choice. The problem, as Ray Bradbury saw it, is that people are voluntarily giving up their access to knowledge in the name of convenience. It's actually the problem that we have today. It is 2022, and right now, in everyone's hand, at almost all times, you have something like this. You have an iPhone, you have an Android, you have a cellular device in your hands, a smartphone. You have the access to all of the knowledge in the entirety of the world. And what do we use it for? We use it to watch 7-second videos on TikTok of people dancing and nonsense and it's constant stimulation. Well, this is what the parlor wall is in Fahrenheit 451. This is the television. This is the seashell headphones. This is constant stimulation that we have. When right here is everything that you could ever want to know about any topic in the entire world. And we're electing not to use these things to learn anything. Not all the time, but most of the time, people are not on their phones or on their computers to accrue knowledge. They are doing things that just give them stimulation. And you can see it. I can see it in my own life. Everyone can see it. The attention spans of human beings are getting worse. Imagine trying to sit down right now and read a 500-page book. People struggle to do that. Now, a lot of people they don't read in general, but even people who love reading, like myself, sometimes it's hard to just sit down and imagine reading a 500 or 700-page book. And it's because we've been taught that we need this constant stimulation, these constant dopamine fixes every time we pick up our phone and every time we get on the internet or check our likes on Facebook. And this is what Ray Bradbury is talking about in this book. More than just how it's bad. Censorship is bad. Burning books is bad. Government control is bad. That's the message of this book. But more than that, the message is that people have to elect to take care of themselves. You have to make it a choice on yourself to be an informed person. You have to make the choice yourself to be a better person. And when we give that up voluntarily, only then can the government come in and say, okay, well, we're going to do this for your own good. Don't worry. And so that's actually the point of this book more than anything else. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's not a long book. It's less than 200 pages. I think in this edition, which is the 60th anniversary edition, this entire book is 250 pages, but the back half of it is all just talking about the book. It's history, context, criticism, those kind of things. So this book is 158 pages, right? This one right here, 158 pages. And you should just go read it if you've never read it. Again, I don't want to spoil the story. I'm not trying to do an entire synopsis here. I'm not giving away the ending. It's worth the read. But notice what is actually being talked about. It's easy to take the superficial surface stuff, which is easy to get. Burning books is bad. That's obviously the point of the book. You shouldn't burn books. You shouldn't look for the easiest possible life you can have. That is what that book is about. Looking for the easiest possible life that you can possibly imagine means that you're never challenged, you're never growing as a person. And so if you were to practice hedonism, for example, hedonism, for those who don't know, anything that brings you the most pleasure is moral, basically, to a hedonist is what it comes down to. And if you were to be like the people in this novel, it's hard to argue that they're not hedonists. They do whatever brings them pleasure in the moment, and they all live these hollow lives. You have the main character's wife who's overdosing. You have people who die every day. You have a woman in there who's on her third marriage because her first two husbands are gone or dead, and her third one might die, and she seems indifferent because people walk around, they're indifferent to each other. You have no connection to people. You have no community. You have no love when you don't have a reason to live. And if you never challenge yourself, if you never challenge your ideas, if you never change your worldview or confront hardship in life, then you have no reason to live, and you wind up living like the characters in this book, who are hollow representations of mass media consumerism culture. And so that's what you got to keep in mind. If you decide to give this book a read or a reread, then look for that. And then look around. Go to a public place and sit down without your phone for a second and look around at all the people there. They're all looking at their screens. And what are they doing? I promise you, the overwhelming majority of them are not reading Aristotle. They're not reading Plato's Republic or Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. They're not out there studying Genesis or Deuteronomy. They're not doing things that are worthwhile. They're wasting time on apps. They're texting people about nonsense. They're doing nothing important. And in the moment, it seems like those people are being made happy by these things, because our phones, the apps that we use, these things, they've tricked us. The media has tricked us into believing that they can shorten things down into tiny little windows that we can absorb all the information we could possibly need. You get the videos, the 30-second fix on this, or even if you're a person who watches the news, cable news is terrible. They'll give you a 60-second segment on a gigantic topic, but all it is nothing but talking points. It's the abridged version of anything that you could possibly hope to learn that's been skewed and diced and processed to a point that it is not really the truth anymore. It's not really the whole truth, at least. Because to understand something, it takes thought, it takes time, it takes practice, and you have to dive into it. So really, this book is a warning. It's a warning to everyone about complacency. And it's a warning about the idea that you should not willingly give up all access to all information that makes you uncomfortable. You should not just go along with what everyone says is true. And you really should confront reality as it stands. So anyway, this is just it's a short little book, and it is one of the most important books written in the last 100 years. So worth giving a listen to, and worth looking around every once in a while, and realizing that your attention, your ability to concentrate, is under assault every day. Everyone around, whether it comes to media, movies, music, these apps on your phone, they want to dumb you down. They want to steal all your attention. And they want it because they're greedy and hungry for it, because it's how they make money. Don't sell your life away to people so they can profit off you. That's what your phone is doing to you every day. And that's what Ray Bradbury is warning against. That hollow existence of pure pleasure without knowledge or thought or growth. So challenge yourself. Look around. Try and figure out a way to take back some control of your life, your brain, your information intake. And find a topic you're interested in and dive deep into it. Find something that you want to do. Read a book. Put down the phone. Get off Netflix for a second, or your Hulu, or your Disney Plus, whatever it is. I'm not saying you can't watch a movie or watch a TV show or listen to music, but be careful. I'm not even saying you can't use your phone, but just be careful. Guard yourself against that. Don't let your attention get eroded away, and don't let the world slip by and stop paying attention to what really matters in life. Pleasure is good. Pleasure is fun. Netflix it's easy. It's relaxing. I get it. Just don't let the world slip by while you're not paying attention, and push yourself a little bit. Find something that makes you uncomfortable and tackle it. It makes you better. And that's what this is all about. Anyway, go read the book. I'm going to leave it there for the day. I am Tyler Chrestman. I got a number of really good suggestions recently on some podcast topics. So I would like to thank everyone who ever gives me a suggestion, because this podcast topic right here was a suggestion after I was going on a giant rant about this book to someone. They said, just do a podcast about it because that sounds awesome. And then, anyway, I love suggestions. I love the comments. I love the questions, the emails. So everyone who does all that stuff, thank you so much. It's always great. And I'm going to catch you on the next one, because I got a couple really good topics coming up, and I'm going to have some time on my hands here coming up. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good day. See you soon.